Well, he has made it his lifelong mission to return the Bible and Bible clubs back to our public school. He's making a life-changing difference in the future of our students. Please welcome none other than the founder of Kids for Christ USA, Bob Heath. Bob, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good to have you here.
Bob, this is a powerful video that we just watched. 1963 myth.
Right on. And it is exactly as it says, that, a myth. And most of us have bought into it as absolute truth. And it's not. And it's changed, I think it's completely changed the complexion of our nation because of our belief that the Bible and prayer was removed from the schools. I found it by accident. I mean,
wow.
I'd been doing Kids for Christ for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, before I stumbled on the reality that, stumbled at looking at Google and found that that the Bible and prayer had never been removed, only mandatory Bible reading and prayer had been removed.
Well, Bob, what I love about your ministry is that you're reaching these public schools and challenging them to wake up and realize that we have a responsibility. 90%, isn't it, of our children here in the U.S. attend public school?
That's correct, actually, yeah.
You know, you think of our future ahead of us, of the young people, need the Bible,
Absolutely.
need God's Word.
Absolutely. And that's my heart, is to see that every child has an opportunity to have a Bible club in their school. I'm not trying to build a kingdom for Kids for Christ. I'm trying to share a vision, hope that every pastor, every parent, everybody in this nation who professes to be a believer jumps up and runs and says, okay, let's do something about it. You know, I was just, if you don't mind, I was just in Tanzania this summer. I was in Tanzania. The whole trip was 24 days. I was about 19 days that we were over there. I was there to meet with pastor, or be a part of a team and share developing a vision for children's ministry with pastors. And while I was there, I was in the Dar es Salaam and I was in Morogoro. The last day they took us to the island of Zanzibar. Supposed to be a day of R&R, and ended up being 2 days there, and the second day was not a day of R&R. The island of Zanzibar is 97% Islamic. And I found out while I was there on that second day that God used, quite frankly, to rock me to the core. That there are only 40 Christian churches on the entire island. And in fact, they're burning churches. And we went in the afternoon to do a service in a church. On the way there, the pastor who was taking us there, he said he was taking us to not to his church because his church had been burned. So, oh, okay. And so he's taking us to another church. This church was a month old. There were only 20 people in the church, but there were 8 of them that would be there this Wednesday night. When we got there, I'm holding a video camera while another gentleman is interviewing this pastor. And when he tells about his church being burned, and that this one that we're in has being threatened. And you're in a village out in the middle of nowhere. You realize everybody around you has a completely different faith system than you. And we go into the service, go into the church, we go into the service, and these people start worshiping God with all their might. And I just broke, because suddenly, for the first time, the persecuted church was not over there. It was right here. I'm in it. And I'm looking at the windows, and there's no windows. They're metal screens. And these people are singing with all their might praise to Jesus, where everybody in the village around them could hear. And it was at that moment I realized, oh my goodness, they could come, close the doors, burn this place, and we're toast, literally, theoretically.
Sure.
I'm not but you get the point.
Real. Yeah, but a very real situation.
Or the guys with the machine guns that I've seen all up and down the streets could come and open fire. And it really, really rocked me. I just sat in the back of the room, actually stood, crying. And we left. The next day we're back on the mainland, and I hadn't had internet for 10 days. I also, in addition to Kids for Christ, run a Christian News and Information website, and I got a press release from Christian Educators Association International. When I read this press release, it really rocked me, because I realized how easily this could happen to us in the States if we as believers don't take advantage of our rights. You want to hear this press release?
Yes.
This is going on right now in Santa Rosa, Florida. John Doe 1 and John Doe 2, 2 seniors who have now graduated, complained to the ACLU that their teachers were trying to influence them toward Christianity. ACLU filed suit because the school was too friendly to religion. The school districts defended themselves to the tune of about $250,000. I forget the exact amount. And the ACLU said, well, we'll settle with you. We'll go away if you sign this consent form. And the consent form said that no faculty member or staff member would be allowed to pray on campus before, after, even over their food, period. Or on any that included also religious venues. If there was an event being held for the school on a church, which is common. In fact, you know, many churches start in schools. So it's common. They would not be allowed to pray. That's, the school district signed it. This school district, in essence, signed away the First Amendment rights of the teachers and the staff members. I'm still thinking Zanzibar right here, and how easy this would be. Well, this goes further. There is a lady right now who is a school receptionist in that community, who is a member of Christian Educators, that is being held in contempt, or faces contempt charges rather, because she went to a meeting. Her husband, she was asked to pray at this meeting. It was an award ceremony honoring the faculty. She was asked to pray. She knew about this agreement, so she said no and asked her husband to pray. And she is being held potentially in contempt, faces potential criminal charges. We as believers have got to take advantage of the rights we have.
We're talking about right here.
Right here.
And that's why it's so important for the teaching the kids, the kids club, because there has to be someone that can rise up and do what God has called them to do. That's right.
Just sow it into the children. They'll run with it. If you're too lethargic to really do anything, sow it into the children, because they'll run with it. I mean, I've watched kids now for 8.5 years. And worked with them in the schools for 8.5 years. Parents who want to sponsor clubs, children who want to sponsor clubs. When those children get old enough, they take them on themselves. My eldest son is a senior, and he and 9 students are running a club in their school of about 2,500 kids. And that group this year, I expect, you know what, if All Out Revival doesn't hit that school, I'll be disappointed. We'll just put it that way.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, to make a difference here, I mean, what can people do? I mean, sometimes people feel so intimidated by the law and so intimidated by the stories that they're hearing about, these lawsuits and things. What are our rights? What can we do?
Well, first of all, you can do this. Everybody do this with me.
Okay.
The law is on your side.
That's good.
I mean, seriously, the law is on your side. The Bible and prayer was never removed from the schools. Equal access, the Equal Access Act says that secondary students have a First Amendment and an equal access right to student-initiated Bible clubs. Many have tried to interpret that as student-led. It says student-initiated. Big difference. And then in the elementary level, First Amendment right belongs to those children because they are American citizens just like secondary students are, and their parents have First Amendment rights. So you can sponsor a Bible club in that school before or after school. Wow. And you can have whomever you wish to do the teaching. Don't say, I can't teach the Bible. I can't make it interesting. No, call your kids pastor. Call me. We'll help you hook up.
So for instance, let me back up for 1 second. So student initiated. So if a student has a desire to see that accomplished in their school, that's all it takes.
You're correct.
Stepping up and having the desire.
Saying, Mr. Principal.
And letting them know.
Exactly. Mr. Principal,
wonderful.
I want to have this club. What day of the week, what room can I have it in? Notice I didn't say where and when. I said what day of the week.
Wonderful. And, I believe that there are young people that have that desire, that have that passion for Christ, that they're just saying, I want to make a difference.
Absolutely.
So they can start by doing something like this.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Powerful.
No, I mean, they're doing it. I've watched them. I mean, I am so excited when I watch these kids. The group that I'm telling you about where my son is at, a year ago, part of those kids, there's 2 schools in that school district. And there's a girl whose name is Shada. If you were to go to, I don't know if I can say it, but I'm going to. If you were to go to YouTube and you pull up her name, Shada's Story, Sheyda, Shada's Story. This girl started in our ministry in 2nd grade.